The real problem isn't ideas. Lots of founders have, or even wannabe founders, have hundreds, if not thousands, of business ideas or product ideas. The problem is, how do you know which one to move forward with? How do you know which one is going to be a good fit for you? How do you know which one you're not going to get burnt out on? How do you know which one's actually going to make money? You know what I mean? Like, that's the important part here. It's really easy to come up with ideas. It's really hard to make sure that you're betting on the right idea at the right time with the right system, the right framework, the right people, the right team, and the right messaging for your customers. A business idea versus a business direction. An idea can be anything. I've got an idea for an app that will automatically generate recipes for chefs. I have an idea for a software that will make your accounting easier every year that you have to do your accounting. I have a product concept for a new beverage or a better mousetrap, whatever it is, right? There's tons of business ideas or product concepts. A business direction is much more strategic. That's more like, a category of problems. For instance, okay, AI is brand new. A business direction might be, I'm going to help new businesses adopt AI. It's not one specific idea or one specific product. It's more about a category or a framework of, this is the type of problem I want to solve, and this is kind of how I want to solve it. The reason it's important to understand the difference between an idea and a direction is because an idea is kind of a singular focus, and it's either success or failure on that idea. Whereas a direction is more about, I know that there's some solvable problems here, and this is the direction I'm going to go. I'm going to figure out the details as I get more into it. And that also allows you the opportunity to pivot multiple times within your framework, launch multiple products, multiple businesses, etc., because you're just kind of picking a direction. A direction is about having a problem, a market, and a solution, and getting them all to fit together and doing it as the data expands and based on the market feedback. Whereas, again, an idea is very specific, very narrow, and very focused. I think one of the other big takeaways on that is that ideas are replaceable, whereas direction is more strategic. You might have multiple ideas within a strategic direction. Okay, so the goal at this stage is not that you're going to pick a specific business and go full steam ahead. This is about understanding, what your kind of right and left limits are, what's inbounds, what's out of bounds. You want to remove pressure, gain clarity. You're not committing to anything yet. We've got a whole bunch more modules to get through before you're going to get to the point where you're going to actually commit to something. So right now it's about, kind of eliminating things that are way out of bounds and kind of narrowing it down to a core group of concepts or ideas, frameworks, directions that you want to head. Okay, next up is founder leverage. This one's pretty important because there must be a reason you're starting a business, right? Maybe you have more domain expertise in a certain scenario than anybody else, or maybe you have an unfair advantage because you know a customer or a certain market better than anybody else for whatever reason, experience. Maybe you have an unfair advantage because you invented a widget or a process. It's really about understanding what sets you apart from anybody else and what makes you different. Because if you can quantify that, and then better if you can even wrap a story around that, that is what's going to give you the best chance of success at having a really good, powerful business. That leverage that you figure out is actually turns into one of your constraints. And that is kind of the next filter that we talk about, is why constraints matter. A lot of people will look at, I don't have time, or I don't have money, or I don't have a coding background or a technical background or a real estate background, right? Whatever it might be, as a huge limitation. It doesn't have to be. That can actually just be a design constraint. Imagine telling an artist, hey, you can go paint anything you want under the sun. Okay. He might paint a dog, he might paint an apple, he might paint a bridge, a sunset, who knows? But if you give some constraints, if you're like, hey, you can only use red and yellow, you can only use, this half of the canvas, you can only use your left hand, who knows, right? But different constraints. What happens when you do that, when you fix certain variables, it's kind of like your senses, right? I'm sure you've heard, like, if you were blind, it heightens your other senses. You maybe hear better, you can feel better. Your mind allows you to really focus in and kind of solve the problem that's been created of being blind in that instance. The constraints really, really matter. They become the most critical piece of designing your solution for what you're trying to offer the marketplace. And what that ends up becoming, oftentimes, is it turns into your competitive advantage. So founder leverage and constraints, they really kind of go together. But constraints are not just your founder leverage. There's lots of other constraints. It can be money, it can be time, it can be technical capability, it can be speed to market. There's lots of different things that it can be. Okay, next up, filter 3, speed of learning. Well, yeah, speed of learning has become more important. Speed for signal, speed to customer feedback. There's a lot of different names for it, but it's now 2026. We're moving into the late 2020s and then on into the 2030s, especially with the internet, AI, the way SaaS companies have been evolving, agentic workflows, and all of the things that are coming, over the next few years. Speed is extremely critical. The development timelines of getting things into market, or doing experimentation and getting them, getting feedback on that kind of stuff. The pace at which we get data is unlike any time in history. And so getting that data, getting that feedback from your market, from your customers, from early adopters is insanely important. And then being able to do things and then be able to pivot and make those decisions. The earlier you can do it, you've now saved yourself a lot of time and money. It's really, really important. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go into the market and get feedback. Even I'm talking a year before you even launched a product. Even when you're just thinking about an idea, go socialize it with people. Go talk about it with friends and enemies, right? Literally, you want all the negative feedback. Don't be afraid of having somebody call your baby ugly. It's extremely important that you get that feedback early and often, because it's going to save you a lot of time, heartache, anguish, and most importantly, money. Okay, understanding different business models. Okay. We're not going to dive deep into this. There's a whole bunch of information in the module, and obviously you can do a deep dive on the specific business models that are of interest to you. But it's important to understand that there is a big difference in business models. You can offer a service where you're doing something for somebody else, things like accounting, auto mechanics, lawyers, healthcare workers, et cetera. There's masseuses, there's all kinds of service businesses. Again, you're basically trading your time for somebody else's money, and you're doing something on their behalf. You can also sell software. That is a software product, which is, it's not necessarily something you can touch and feel and pick up, but it is something that you're using day to day. It's not a service because the user is actually having to do the work, but you are selling them a digital tool that allows them to do so. You also have real hard products, right? Things like, sunglasses, or, a stuffed animal, headphones, right? Whatever the case may be, a physical product that you can actually sell. Vodka, right? Something that we sell. There's a lot of different options in terms of physical products. And then of course there's, AI domain businesses that's a whole new category that's coming, where it's similar to SaaS. And if you don't know what SaaS is, it's software as a service. But now you're starting to see results-based AI businesses that are really like kind of paying on demand for results. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's lots of sub business types and subdomains and all kinds of different things. We don't need to get into all of those details right now. For where we are today, what you're trying to figure out is basically what it is that you want to sell. Are you trying to sell a service, a product, or something else? Okay, so as you are going through all of these different business types and trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, we've got a tool called the Business Direction Matrix, which is real simple. You can fill it out. Basically, you can put down a couple of different ideas of directions that you might want to take your business. And this is just an objective way to kind of categorize it out and basically trying to assign a number value. This just helps you kind of, again, narrow in your focus on what you want to be building. Okay, so with all that said, please go through the module. There's a whole bunch of information we didn't even cover just in this few minutes right now. But what does success look like? At the end of this module, it's all about narrowing focus. We want you to have a few different ideas, because in the next stage, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go and what does success look like? So at the end of this module, you should have a much better idea of the direction that you're heading for your business. You may even have a couple of specific business ideas, but this is really about targeting the market and the type of customer that you're going after. It's about having a big direction in mind, because in the next module, what we're actually going to do is start going into market research and competitive analysis so that we can narrow in on what your exact kind of product market fit and which problem you might be solving within that market. So anyway, hope that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next module.